Welcome to Berardi and Coke. I'm Karl, also known as Pod Dodger, but today it's not me dodging pods. And I'm joined today by Gilly. How you doing, man?
I'm getting in the way of pods.
Are you getting in the way of pods?
I want meant to be on Fruit Week, and I want to meet. Was it Fruit Week or was it last one? I can't remember. I've been covering. So Fivehead's decided that he's going to spend his weekend away in Wales. So I'm jumping on Smarty's behalf.
Yeah, he's on those swings again, isn't he? Fair play to him. You're looking very summery there, Gilly. What's the crack with this, man?
I'm manifesting.
You're
so
manifesting.
This is, we're in a situation where, I think in order for us to get anything, what we need is West Ham to be comfortable in the league and Spurs to be Spursy, and for both of them to be on the beach by the time we play them. So.
It's on the beach, right, Bucket? Because you don't like the sunshine or the heat, do you? So I was kind of going, where the hell are you manifesting this?
It's warm enough today. It was 20 degrees or something mad. It's warm enough. This.
That's nice temperature for you now, isn't it?
Yeah.
So do you maybe do you want to get it rolling there, so and we'll get this show on the road?
Yeah, no bother.
Nice one.
Hi, this is Don Matteo, and you are listening to the Orta No Better podcast. Let's do this.
You look like fucking Brolin, you're a Leeds hating bastard. Look like some sort of fucking weird floating head. No. He's a utensil player a bit, innit?
I mean, I feel a bit right, dickhead.
Nothing spectacular, really.
So it seems to be a theme that Jay's nothing spectacular has been fairly accurate the last couple of weeks. Now, let's be honest, there was nothing spectacular about today either. But Gilly, it was horrible to watch personally. But how are you feeling about it? What's are you going down the lines of, Jay's thing there, nothing spectacular, or are you a bit more manifestation confident?
I think that if we put some context on the situation and look at what would have happened against a post Palace Gracia, let's say, or a Marsh, then you're looking at 6 or 7 put past us today, I think. So I think in context, I put a tweet out of just before full time, marveling at the fact that what I think is probably the best club side in the world right now, with probably the best player in the world in it that played the game against us, were slowing the game down against us, it's like, this shouldn't be happening. It just should not be happening. This and momentum swing is massive in football. I think that the madness around the pen, and Pep on the sideline saying, "You take this," and the potentially the biggest Leeds fan in the world refusing to because he didn't want to score against it.
Loved it.
I mean, to be fair, Gundogan's their captain, and they were on a hat trick, so there is an argument around it. But at the same time, Haaland takes that. He's not going to miss. So I think on balance, when you look at the swinging momentum, you look at the changes that were made, there were a lot of focus on Willie not playing. He's played him. He'd called out that he was, potentially one of our most, if not our most dangerous player before getting given the job, and marveling at the fact he wasn't playing. So he did play, didn't really get in the game. But he's played him. And you look at the formation and you look at the objective of today, which, let's be honest, was not to get pumped. Then really, it's objective achieved. And yes, Haaland could have had a hat-trick today. I don't think that's exaggerating to say he could have done. But I think it is a truism to say that if the gaffer had not been changed in the past week, that's a big fucking hiding today.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. Like, obviously, it was only since Wednesday that he was in, but you could see what he tried to fucking implement straight away was just not be weak at the back. Even though there was a lot of kind of times where I was sitting there, I was like, geez, we're sitting very deep. We're not taking any kind of impetus to push forward here at all. Like, but again, sure, it's all good enough saying it. We're podcasters who don't coach professionally.
Yeah.
Like, but
there is a bit of that. But I think the other side to it, for me, I've said the objective was not to get pumped. I think the objective was to still be in the game at 80 minutes, wasn't it? And then if you try and carry something to the opposition and it's on 80 minutes and you get caught on the break, well, it's 2-0, you might lose 3-0, but you might get a goal and you might lose 2-1, or you might snatch a draw. I think the important thing was to be in the game and it not to be a cricket score by the time it got round to 75, 80 minutes. And they did that, they managed that, and a lot of that, there was some luck riding, there was some poor finishing on their part, but there was some battling and there was some, you're right, it was awful to watch. It wasn't a fun game. But what could we have done realistically today that would make that a fun game for a Leeds fan? There's all sorts of ways it could have been a fun game for a neutral. We could have won because the world wanted that. Let's be honest. The world could have. I shared a tweet through the week that was from the Guardian Weekly that basically was Barry Glendenning saying no one would laugh harder than him if Leeds got a win. And you're looking at the talking at Big Samsden during the week, and all of the neutrals on any podcast you listen to, BBC Daily and whatever else, they're all saying, it'd be great if Leeds would go there and get a result. And it was never expected by any stretch. That's why the odds were so massive in our favor towards us. So I think with all of the context applied to it, the fact that they're slowing the game towards full time, pushing to get another one, and not streaks ahead of us in terms of the scoreline, I think that's testament to actually what Big Sam's done in instilling a little bit of pride, a little bit of fight, making sure that they're not a pushover. Because conceding when we did, you're looking at it, you're thinking, fucking hell, this could be a cricket score. Because to concede, you look at what happened against Palace, where we were playing quite well before they scored their first, and then it all just fell apart. And then we played Liverpool, and I mean, again, before the first goal, we looked okay. I thought we looked okay against Bournemouth before they scored their goal. So to look okay and then concede and then just fall apart, it's like an England batting collapse. So to avoid that was a big deal.
It was a running theme for us over the last maybe 5 or 6 games, like where we play very, very kind of well, looked very threatening for 20, 25 minutes. And if we didn't hold out to half time at 0-0, we always kind of felt that if they scored, we were going to get fucked either way, because it always seemed like there was a lot of pressure on us. Even when Yank was in charge, there was always a lot of pressure on us to either score in the first 20, 25 minutes, or we felt we were fucked. And today, although we didn't look like we were going to score at any point, really, it was nice to just see us not, like you said, not getting pumped, not looking like we were a team already beaten. Like they looked like they had a bit of fight in them today. Like Forshaw put in 2 heavy tackles in the first few minutes. And you know what, man, I think that's exactly what we need as well. Like, I know you kind of want to play football, what we've been used to over the last couple of years, bar last year or whatever, but you got to look at it and go, right, we need to smash some people just here and there, because like Sam has said, the ticky-tacky stuff is all good and well when you're mid-table, you're absolutely fancying yourself to maybe push for a European spot, but with it being the way it is now, you need to just kind of smash people a little bit and make sure that they know you're in the game and they can't just pass it around you now. And I'm going to contradict myself a bit here now, because City did pass it around us quite well, but there was phases in the game where when we did put the foot in, they didn't look to get it forward. They tried to just play it around at the back a bit, look for those kind of when you watch City, they're very easy to read on the television. A little bit harder in real life, I'd imagine, but on the TV, they're very easy to read. Where as soon as the likes of Gundogan or De Bruyne get the ball, you have two players down the middle instantly making those runs down the middle at our centre backs. But you've also got the two boys going wide. So what automatically, when they go down the middle, our defence gets tighter, and that leaves the wings wide open. And it happened for both their goals. Now, I don't know. I think you can kind of forgive Firpo because he was pushing Mahrez away from goal on both occasions to make it more difficult for him.
Couldn't disagree more. Could not disagree more.
I thought he was pushing him away from goal, and I think obviously the pressing of the ball was weak, but he was putting him in the right direction. But
no, absolutely not.
I think I think the person who's at fault for that first goal is not just because of the shit he's got recently or anything like that. I think it's McKennie. He leaves too much space in front of Verber, and he doesn't close down Gundogan quick enough. And for me, that's where the fault lies in that. I think Firpo has done what he needed to keep him away from the byline. He needed to keep him away from squaring it the way City like to do it. He pushed him the opposite direction, didn't give him the option of a shot on his left foot, forced him to play the pass. I think the overall for me there is that McKennie leaves far too much space there. Far too much space, and he doesn't leave himself enough time to close the ball down when he does. That's the way I look at it.
I don't disagree with McKennie. I think McKennie was even more culpable for the second goal, to be honest, because Gundogan's just done him with a bit of a hip slide, and McKennie thinks he's got him because he thinks he's going to come onto his left foot. Gundogan's never going to come onto his left foot from there, so McKennie's left stranded because he shifts it back onto his right and then just pops it in corner. The reason that I'm saying I couldn't disagree more is Firpo's got control of Mahrez, or you think he has, because Mahrez is always going to check on his left. Firpo shows him onto his left where he's strongest. The one time he showed him onto his right, and I said in a different group chat, I said Firpo showed Mahrez onto his left twice now. They're going to score from this. That was before their first goal. The one time he showed him onto his right, the ball dribbled out and went for a goal kick. He showed him on his left where he's strongest. He's fully confident. If you show Mahrez onto his left, he's fully competent and he's comfortable with that. And that's exactly where he wants it. He wants to check back inside, and he let him. And then he just had time to be able to pick it out, because not only did he show him on his left, he also gave him too much space. He needed to be closer to him. Now,
I agree with that.
That does mean you can get beaten by some skill, a trick, or what have you. But if you get beat by some skill, a trick, or what have you, make sure you've got him on his right and you've got him at the byline, so he's running down a tight avenue. And then you rely on your central players. And you are right. I think I thought Forshaw did okay, but I think Forshaw and McKennie were both culpable for Gundogan being in the position that he was for the first goal. The second goal, McKennie's got to be the one that closes him down and gets there, and he didn't. Jay's had a go at Robles. I don't think Robles can do anything about either of those goals. If you let somebody with a capability that Gundogan, or to be fair, any of their central players, with that amount of space on the edge of your box, what's your keeper going to do? Especially that second one. I mean, that second one, I don't know if you saw it slowed down after he'd scored it when it was going in, but it's about 1.5 yards wide of the post and curls back in and actually goes in off the bottom of the post.
Yeah.
Robles is not getting near that, but it's gone around two defenders. So I think it's really harsh to blame Robles for that, and I thought it was. And I thought it was. I thought it was a good decision to pull Merley out of firing line.
Look, I think Robles didn't do himself any harm there at all to start against Newcastle on Saturday. He made one or two good saves from Haaland, where it was he was 1-on-1 with Haaland in the first half, the first few minutes maybe, and spread himself big at the near post and made a good save. And there was a couple of others where he came and he caught it or he punched it or caught it. And it just kind of, I think it maybe gave the back four, the back line five a bit of a safety net that they could potentially rely on. And that's no slight on Melia either, don't get me wrong. It's just keepers go through them, you know?
Yeah. No, that's true. I just want to say, so Jay said in the comments, whoa, 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 I was emotional, but has also said in the comments, Rob Les didn't do enough for me on the goals. So I'm not having any of that at all. Is that how we're referring to? So emotion, I don't think Rob Les can do anything with either of those goals.
No, you could maybe question the first one, but he looks like he's been wrong-footed with the strike. It looks like he's expecting it to go across him like the second one did, rather than where he put it. So you can see that he's wrong-footed. Like, he's not. There's nothing that he can do about that. But just in relation to the midfield, Gilly, like, how do you think it worked out with the three lads, Rocca, McKinney and Forshaw? Do you think is that something that we'd need to look at again for Newcastle, or do we try and be a bit more creative and not so much with the trying to stifle them and hit them on the break type thing?
So what I said on the midweek pod was I expected Weston to play further forward and try, because he's good in the air, and therefore we're going to be knocking it long from centre backs and from keeper, which we did. But you've got to do against it. You're not going to play out against them. You just get ripped apart if you try to play it out. And Big Sam is not somebody that's going to play through the centre backs into defensive centre midfield. He's not somebody that's going to do that. So I did expect McKennie to be further forward. And one of the reasons for that, if you look at the goal that we did score, Weston wins the first, Firpo wins the second. It drops into their defence. Rodrigo takes it off him and scores. So we did win the header in that 40 yards, 45 yards out from their goal. He's won a header, then we've won another header. That's that's the sort of thing that we're going to be looking to expect from Big Sam. That's what he wants from him. In terms of the midfield three, I didn't think Rocker had a very good game. I think it's really difficult to try and judge capability when you're up against the level of midfielder we were at. It's really difficult to judge them. But I didn't think Rocker had a good game. I didn't think McKennie had a good game. But it speaks volumes for their mobility around the pitch that Forshaw was the most advanced of the three. Because he was the only one that had any legs in midfield, and that's just crazy. He's 31 with one. He's only got half a hip left. He shouldn't be the most mobile midfielder we've got.
Yeah, I looked at that as well, and I thought it was a bit mad. But you can kind of understand from a point where if you want, we weren't going to be creative today at all. Like, the way we were set up, it wasn't set up to be creative and try and make as many chances as we possibly could. That's just not how we were today. But with Forshaw playing in McKinney's position, to me, that looked like Sam wanted someone who was a big tackler, who was going to absolutely clock someone and break up the play in the midfield rather than try and press them into their final third, because we were never going to be able to do that. Because if we did that, we'd have been just caught every which way from Sunday. So I agree with you that it was weird to see Forshaw there, but my thinking behind that was get someone up there who's going to smash someone. Just get someone in there who's not afraid to just break up the play. That's a typical Sam Allardyce side. We've seen him for years and years throughout the Premier League. He had Kevin Nolan previously at Bolton and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Forshaw is ideally Sam's type of player if he can stay fit.
Well, I thought that was going to be Weston's role. You look at Nolan, you look at Davies, and that in between attack and midfield, winning that header in there and trying to get on the knockdowns. I think that's why I was saying McKennie further forward. I think that might still be what we see. Maybe not against Newcastle, but maybe against West Ham. We'll see that. It'll be very interesting what we do. If you look at, they've got some monsters in midfield. So it'll be interesting to see what we do there. But I think it's really difficult to judge how good a game any of our players had when we relinquished so much possession. And I'm not saying that we were wrong to do so. I'm just saying it's really tough. You look at Bamford and the impact he had on the game. Well, it was next to nothing. But did we expect him ever to? He was somebody to run around. That was it. He was somebody to just get in their way whenever he could. And you know what? If it broke, run it down or what have you. You look at Jackie on the wing, and I thought he did all right for all of the chance that he was able to be in the game. He looked all okay on the ball. He looked quite tidy. But what he was doing was working more in defence than he was in attack for just about the entire time he was on the pitch. So it's really difficult. You look on the other side, I mentioned about Nonto and the pressure that previous managers had been under to play him. And had Big Sam not played him, having said, this is amazing, why are they not playing their most effective attacker and then not played him? He would have crucified himself. So it was always, for me, he was always going to play today. He fit. He was always going to play. So I think, but I didn't think he was particularly effective while on the pitch. I think he was really, really unlucky to get booked. And I think that played on his mind a little bit, actually, after being booked. Because if you look at the booking, he's slipped. Yes, he's caught the man. Yeah. I don't think you have to book there. I think you can just give a free kick and go, we know that one on purpose. You've slipped. You've caught your man. Yeah. And he stood up and he's immediately has gone, I've slipped. I'm sorry. He's helped him up and that. And I think as a ref, you can give yourself a few seconds to make a decision there, and I thought that was really harsh. And I think actually that's played on his mind because he stood off a lot more beyond that, and that I think it was Jimmy that came on for him on it. And again, I thought Jimmy did okay, but it's so difficult, and I expect that. If you look at the player ratings, which I haven't, if you look at the player ratings, it's probably going to be the centre backs, keeper, and the defensive midfielders that have got the higher rating, because they're the ones that were putting in the blocks, and they were pressing, but they were pressing when it came into those areas. So if you look at any passes that we did make, and you look at I don't know if you saw the stat, but at half time, Gundogan had almost twice our passing amount on his own.
Yeah, 86 passes, and we did barely hit double figures. Yeah.
We were at half time. We'd made 47 as a total pass as a total team. Gundogan had done 92 on his own. So when you're relinquishing that level of control in a game in order to try and stay in the game, it's really difficult to ascertain whether somebody's played well or not, because what opportunity have you had to show that you have? It's a difficult one. I didn't think Rasmus played particularly well. I thought his fist pumping after Haaland missed a chance was, what are you doing? As I say, when it comes down to Firpo, I thought he dealt with Mahrez quite poorly on the goals. But we've come away. I went just as we were coming on. I've put a split at the World Cup point, but this is total results, not total teams, and bearing in mind the number of games they've had. But I'm just going to run through the list of sides that have lost to Man City by 2 goals or more just this season.
Right.
So prior to the World Cup, you had West Ham, Bournemouth, Palace, Forest, Sevilla, Wolves, Scum, FC Copenhagen, Southampton, Brighton, Sevilla, Chelsea, and us, all lost by 2 or more goals.
Right.
However, after the World Cup, Chelsea, Spurs, Wolves, Villa, Arsenal, Bournemouth, Bristol City, Newcastle, Leipzig, Burnley, Liverpool, Southampton, Bayern Munich, Leicester, Sheffield United, Arsenal, and West Ham all came away from a game against Man City with a worse result than we did today. I mean, what more can you? We were desperate. We are desperate for points. But fucking bit of context.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. You mentioned there about the when we scored, when Rod scored, that we were winning second balls in that area. I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago that I felt that was a part of our game that we needed to be more on the ball with. Really, would be winning the second balls, because we're not winning headers when we put it long, and that's look, let's be honest, that's our gameplay at the moment. Like that's our MO. So I mentioned that if we're going to do that, we need to be clinical with how we're doing it. If the ball's going to one side of the pitch, we all need to understand as a unit in that side that you need to be within 10, 15 yards of the player going for the header to win that second ball. And today, there was quite a bit of it in the second half, more so the second half than the first. And I think that's something that we need to try and utilise a little bit more with the way we're going to be playing under Sam for the next 3 games. It's going to be high, long balls whenever we get the chance, there's going to be no fancy football. He's even come out and he doesn't like ticky-tacky shite, is what he says. Like, you know, so we know what we're going to get. So I'm sure Sam will work on those kind of things, working off the second ball, making sure there's players available when, you know, those opportunities come along. But that's one thing that I could see maybe working for us against Newcastle, if we can kind of get in and around their players with the, you know, couple of yards spare, whatever. I think that's something that we could definitely work off, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think, I know we'll cover it more on the main pod on Tuesday, but I think you could nearly target Trippier as a corner with that kind of thing as well. You know, if you're going to play a long ball, pick the shortest man. They always do it. Like, teams have always done it to us. They've put it over the top of the smallest man. Why can't we start doing that now and just use the second ball to try and press forward on the front foot? But look, I thought for a second there towards the end we were going to sneak a 2-2 draw, but you know, I'll put that down to the vice beer at the moment, you know. So, but is there any comments you maybe want to fire through there, Gilly, from some of the chat there? Or
yeah, we can do. I think it's Stu's making a point here. If we'd have protected our goal difference against Liverpool, Arsenal, Bournemouth, Palace, we still lost, but we'd be above Leicester. So, you know, our goal difference has taken a kick it, but this was a follow-up comment that he'd made that says protecting our goal difference is worth a point. I mean, it's not worth a point, but I get where he's coming from. It could be worth a point come the end of the season, based on the fact that the likes of Forest, the likes of, I think, even Everton, although that might be quite close now, have got a worse goal difference than us. So it could easily come down to that. It's so close at the bottom. You know, it's looking like Southampton are getting cut adrift now. But having said that, I think they play Forest Monday night.
Yeah, that's a big one now.
Yeah,
both teams to lose.
If they beat Forest, which I think at this point we're probably hoping for, you know, they'd be 3 points behind Forest with a better goal difference. So, you know, and Forest at this point in time are not in the bottom three. So it's a bit crazy at the moment. It's still so close. It's really, really difficult to call where things are going to go. And yeah, I think Southampton are probably down. If they lose to Forest, it's almost certain that they're down. But if they beat them, they could still be in it. So I think goal difference is really important. One comment?
Okay.
Sorry, from you.
Oh, right. Sorry. So just touching on your point there about Southampton and Forest, do you think, would you be worried if Forest got a win? Looking at their fixtures.
I've got to be honest. Looking at Southampton, I expect Forest to get a win. So they'll be above us, and I think Leicester and Everton both play. One of them play tonight. One of them play tomorrow. No, they're both tomorrow, aren't they?
They're both tomorrow, yeah.
You know, we could be, and likely will be in the bottom three if Forest win on Monday night. So, you know, we'll go from 16th to the bottom three without playing. But that is how tight it is. So, yeah, it's a difficult one to call. We kind of want Southampton cut adrift because they could still claw their way back into it.
This is it.
We want them cut adrift, but equally, Forest at the moment are below us. If we say, you know, if that ends up a draw, there's fewer points being handed out, but then both teams get a point, and Forest would still go above us. So it's a difficult one to call. I don't think, looking at it so closely on a per game basis when it's our opposition, I don't think that's going to do us any favours. And certainly from a player's perspective, Big Sam won't have any of that, will he? It'll be concentrating on what you do and let the cards fall where they may for everybody else.
Yeah, and also, Gilly, if we do end up in the bottom three before we play Newcastle next week, every time we've been in the bottom three this season, what have we done?
We've won every single time.
Every single time, 4 times in the bottom three, 4 wins. So, you know, there could be that motivation there for the players as well. You know, let's not break this little run that we've you got to just take the wins. You got to take the runs that you can get. I think being in the bottom 4 or bottom 3 and getting out every time is a run you need to take. So yeah. What's anything else there that you maybe want to pop up?
Yeah, a couple more. Yeah. So Paul
it,
Brennan's in with, to play the Citizens, best team in Europe, and only get beat by only 2-1 when we've been getting smashed isn't a bad feeling. Positive after a defeat isn't normal. Come on, Leeds, keep fighting. Yeah, I think that's all fair. I expanded a little bit more than that. Best team in Europe. I think they're best club side in the world
at the moment. I'd imagine so. Yeah. All they're missing is the Champions League.
Well, yeah, but they're on for it. They're still on for the treble, aren't they? And I think, does that put them, that win today, I think puts them 4 points clear at the top of the most difficult league in the world. It
does indeed put them 4 points clear. I don't know how Arsenal have cabbaged that one, but they seem to have done it.
Well, they drew with Southampton. Did they draw with West Ham? And just those 2 results. Were it West Ham?
So they
Southampton, because I think they won the 3-1 up against Southampton, and they cabbaged that.
3-3 with Southampton, 2-2 with West Ham. They were 2-0 up against Liverpool and cabbaged that one as well, and they lost 4-1 to City.
So that's 6 points gone, even if you ignore the City result, which puts them 2 points clear at the top of the league if they beat West Ham and Southampton and having been up in front of Liverpool. So
I hope we haven't got any Arsenal fans listening here. You might have just finished them off.
Stu's in as well. So actually, someone else before I get onto that, someone else had said, I think that's Bamford finished. I can't see it now. I think it might have been Jay. Oh, Mark Jones and Jay both going 2-footed on. I think Lord Bamford's gone now. We've definitely had the best out of him. I touched upon. I think it's really, really unfair to judge him on today because he was never expected to do anything except challenge for a loose ball, maybe, or try and win a header. But Stu makes a point here. Rodrigo's far more clinical than Bamford, but less useful as a lone hold-up 9. Now, we didn't see a lot of that today, but did we really expect to, is the question.
No, that's the thing.
I think it's an unrealistic expectation. I think somebody else in one of the group chats said, if that chance falls to Bamford, he misses it. And Rodrigo did finish it. But there are 2 different players. I want to see them playing together. That's my point. And the 4-5-1 today, I think, was probably the right choice. And I didn't necessarily want to see them playing together today. But I think when we're looking to carry, we look at our home games and we look at the fixtures that are remaining, we need to carry a threat. And I think we do that best with them both on the pitch.
I think you're right, man. I think when you look at how we play with each of them, whenever one's on the pitch and the other isn't, our style of play is completely different. So we've mentioned before on the pod that when Bamford's on, it's more hold up, bring players into the game, lay it off, try and bring the midfield further into it, stuff like that. But when it's Rodrigo, it's very much get the ball forward, get him playing off the centre backs, and just get him in behind. Today there was maybe 1 or 2 efforts where he nearly got that when he came on, barred the ball being a little bit shit played into him, but you could see that. But if we had the 2 of them on the pitch, we have in a kind of front 2, Gilly, you can see that we'd have very much 2 styles of play that we could play off rather than limiting ourselves to one style and then bringing on another player to switch it around and play a different style. Sometimes it doesn't work for us. What are you giggling at there?
I've just seen some of the comments. We'll come on to it in a minute. There's some right stuff going on.
Fucking hell, I can't even see them on my hook here. So I think it'd be nice, like you said, to see them both playing as a front 2, because then it gives us more options in relation to, do we want Bamford to hold the ball up? Do we want Rodrigo to play in behind? Because they're 2 totally different players. And if you have that option on the pitch, I know it kind of takes away from our midfield then, but we can get a creative player out wide in Jackie or Somerville or Nanto, or we can get those creative players there who have no problem cutting inside and maybe using that 10 role as a kind of a spare bit to maybe get the right and left backs further forward to cover that space out wide. So there's definitely options there that we can utilize both players being on the pitch with, but it's who do you sacrifice in that sense then from the midfield,
It is, but even if you play with two up front, Rodrigo's naturally going to drop and Paddy's naturally going to occupy the centre-backs. So you kind of almost play him with Rodrigo in the hole anyway, even if you play them both up front. I'm not convinced that Big Sam will go for that, because I do think that against sides that are not as mobile, not as capable as Man City, which is pretty much anybody that we're going to play against ever, that McKennie can play further forward, because you don't need the same level of mobility. So you can win those headers in the air, and you can look to get Bamford, Willie, Jackie, Jimmy playing off him, picking up those second balls, and even Firpo, who won the second ball for the goal. So I'm not convinced Big Sam will go for it, but I do think we carry more of a threat with the two of them up front. Equally, he might really surprise us and at home play a Brexit 4-4-2. Let's go back to Pulis, Dyche, play it long, two up front, see if Paddy can win some headers, Rodrigo playing off him with two wingers playing, and see what we get. And again, the cards fall where they may. So it's at this point in time, as Big Sam himself said, Pep had no idea what he was going to do today. I mean, you could make a bet that we were going to sit deep and we were going to play it long, but who he was going to play, I mean, nobody called Rasmus going at centre back. Even when it came out, everybody was going, "Oh, Ayling's playing centre back. What are we doing that?" And I went, "Oh, unless it's Rasmus," but I didn't expect it to be. That was a bit of a surprise. I thought Firpo coming back in was a bit of a surprise, because I expected us to try and be a bit more solid defensively. Now Firpo offers a bit more going forwards, but we didn't expect that from our fullbacks today. So that was a bit of a surprise. But we saw Strike there earlier. We played Verba there, but we needed him at centre back today with Cooper out. We've seen Strike there be a bit more solid, but he's not as mobile. He's not as quick as Firpo. So there's plus and minuses all the way around. But here's another one that made me chuckle, and I think this could have been a typo, to be fair to him. But Jay of the Orta No Better pod says, "Lads, we have to go forward with Rodrigo, Lover, Bamford." Now, I'd like to see them on the pitch together, and I'd like them to build a relationship together. But that's not the sort of thing I was thinking, to be honest.
No, Jay, see, this happened to Jay quite a bit when he got his new phone. Do you remember a new phone about 8 months ago? He got that new phone where autocorrect was fucking him the whole time. Not having it, Jay. It's not a new phone anymore. We know what you're doing, man. Let's see your fucking shit there now. We know what you're at.
Bully wants Luke to start an OnlyFans.
Man, you want to hear the state of his knee? He might need to for an operation.
Bully's in the comments as well.
Piss over his shoulder. What the fuck?
So that's what I was chuckling at. Back to the actual football. Nick G's in the comments. Robles settled my nerves slightly. I think if you look at the level of confidence that we've had in Melia that he's clearly had in the games recently, I think it was more assured. When we were speaking before about when Cooper were out and Verba were out and we were playing Rasmus at right back, so we didn't even have Alien, and you're thinking, who's our captain, who's our leader? Actually, Robles being in there could have settled that down quite easily. I think he was assured. He came and collected the ball a few times, and other than Rasmus nodding it out of his hands, I think it looked okay. And do you know what? Even when that happened, he recovered well at somebody's feet. So I think he did well. And I didn't wet myself thinking, shit, don't come out there at any point.
yeah, that was the thing though. He actually punched and caught. And I'm not slagging Mez off at all. Don't get me wrong. I don't want anyone to think I am. But there was, like you said, that air of confidence where your keeper is he came through a load of players and took some out. Took out our own, took out City players.
But that's what a keeper's got to do, isn't it?
Oh, of course. Yeah. Well, like years ago when I played in goal every now and again for my local team, Jimmy, the ref, used to ref our games, and he'd be like, Casco, will you just go through them? You're the goalkeeper, you get away with it. And I was like, oh, yeah. so
that explains a lot, actually. You've got to have a little bit missing to be a keeper, so that explains a lot.
Yeah, you do.
Just when we talk about that, Mark Jones is in as well. I mean, he's wanting you to start an OnlyFans.
Jesus Christ. Don't know, we'll have to wait and see.
Okay.
Don't know. Yeah,
Question then for you. How in reference to the 14-14 Yorks question, Ayling's got to be dropped. He's getting skinned every game. Newcastle will tear him apart. Do you think that somebody else at right back is going to improve us there?
Don't have anyone else for right back. I'm not putting Rasmus there. He's a
You'd
fucking
have to
donkey.
Put Rasmus there.
He's a donkey.
There is nobody else. You know, we might have had Shaq if you want on loan, but that's it. There's nobody else to play there.
There is no one else.
Unless you played McKennie there.
I like Forshaw, unless, Forshaw's ready. Like Stewie Dallas didn't have the brace on his leg today. Maybe he'll be back in time, God knows.
Unfortunately, I mean, I would love to see it. I'm hoping he makes a return before the end of the season. It'd be fantastic to see it. But I mean, the closer the end of the season gets, the less likely it is, isn't it? Not even on the bench, so it's unlikely. But it'd be ace to see him back. But yeah, I mean, if you had a fit Dallas, fine, okay, that's somebody that's perfectly competent at playing that position.
I genuinely like. I think, regardless of Ayling getting skinned or not, he was up against two of the best players on the planet at the moment, in like you said, arguably the best team on the planet. If he's not getting skinned by them, then Pet's having a word. This is it, like, you know what I mean? So Ayling reads the game better than Rasmus does, in my opinion. He's more experienced, he reads it better, but like, I don't know what Rasmus offers in a forward motion unless he's playing kind of as a sort of right winger in a midfield 5 or something going forward, or a wing back. I don't know what he offers, because he either pumps it long down the line or he looks for it inside or goes back. Now, if you can't carry, like, Ayling can carry the ball. Ayling's not afraid to carry the ball.
Which
forward.
He did do today a couple of times, didn't he? Yeah. The one time he kind of went down a bit of an avenue and then didn't really know how to get out of it. But he carried it most of the length of the pitch today, which you don't see from Rasmus. That's
exactly it. So I think in that regard, there's no disrespect to Rasmus. He's still only 22, something like that, isn't he? So he's only young.
Paper on that, isn't it?
He's only young, like. I wouldn't imagine he's more than that now. Much more than that.
That's a paper round like Luke had.
Yeah, well, there must have been a lot of. What's it say? Jamie said there must have been a lot of dogs.
He was 24 when we signed him.
Was he? How old is he now?
25 now.
Oh. Well, he should have more fucking cop on then, and understanding of how to play the game. No more fucking excuses.
We can bin him now then if he's not a kid.
Bin him off. He's getting on a bit now anyway. Bin him off before he gets anywhere.
I do think that a lot of it depends on who you expect Newcastle to be playing out wide. I think Joe Linton's played some games out there. And he's he's strong and he is mobile, but he uses his strength more than he uses his pace. I think Almiron's not really been playing much. He were on form earlier on this season. He's not been playing much, but Isak, again, very mobile, but don't use his strength at all. It's all about his touch. And, I don't know if you saw, it didn't actually go down as an assist because one of the defenders brushed to the ball, but he beat about 7 opponents about 4 times each.
He tore them up.
And played the ball across. So, I think that Ayling's better suited if it's not a strength off. But I think if it's an all-out strength off, then Rasmus might be your choice. But I see so little in Rasmus that it's difficult. And I love Bill. And he's not been on form since coming back from his injury. And for that length of time, genuinely, he's not played particularly well. And I'm really looking forward to getting him back because we'd missed him. But I still think he's probably the best person that we've got available to play that position.
So just on that note, it's probably more something for the pod on Tuesday night. But do we try and go out and buy a new right back in the summer, or do we just take Drama back and go with him?
Depends which league we're in.
Yeah, I'd like say right. Okay, say we're in the Premier League. What do you do?
If we're in the Premier League, I think you don't get any money for Ayling. He's 30, 31 now. You don't get any money for him, but he's a good lad to have around the squad. So I think you cash in what you can on Rasmus and go out and get somebody else because it's not worked. He's younger, so he should be carrying more of a value. I don't think either of them are reliable, and I certainly don't think Drama is the answer. I don't think either of them. I don't think any of those three. If we survive this season, I don't think any of those three are anybody that we should be looking at starting the majority of our games next season, which leads us to say I think we need to sign somebody new.
Okay. Well, that's sound. No panic there at all. Dallas will be back by next year anyway. So that's
what I don't want to see, which is what a couple of people called for during the week, was Cock at right back. I'm all right with that. He was on the bench today, and I was all right with that too.
Anyway, let's just get off Cock. All right.
Well, talking about that, Bully's in with Karl and Luke could do a collaboration on OnlyFans. So.
Jesus Christ! I got to like. Does someone want to be a pimp? Like, you know what I mean? What's going on? I ain't taking no talcum powder slaps though. But it's like just management. Any more there, Giddy? Quickly.
Apparently, we need to take off our nostalgia Bamford glasses. He washed, but I still think he offers more in the build-up than Rodrigo does. Rodrigo, yes, this season he's been much more clinical in front of goal, but I think he still offers more than Rodrigo does in the build-up. So
I don't think it's as much like Karl was saying there, where we need to take the glasses off about Bamford. Like, we don't have any other options.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is the thing. Like, we, regardless of whether we start Rodrigo or not, one of them's going to be coming on with about 20 minutes to go. What is going on here? Like,
I hope that's not a cornichon that he means, which is a mini pickle.
Oh, right, okay. I don't know what the fuck's going on there.
I mean, what is going on? Jammy, you can get some cream for that, apparently.
These are fucking random. You just pick a random mad ones altogether here. I need to open this fucking thing here.
Bully's saying he's been round to Rubber Julie's.
Lads,
Jammy's is tiny like a hamster's tail.
Who are they talking about there now?
I'm hoping it's each other. Let's get back into some football ones. So, Jojo is with us. So, McKennie is the most industrial midfielder at Leeds. Now, industrial to me usually means no finesse at all to their player, but they're a strong person and they're just going to put in strong tackles, but they can't pass. They won't have a good touch. That's what industrial says to me. So, but then he follows that up with he can make the pass, see the ball over the top to Bamford as a powerful header for set pieces. It's a shame Leeds' squad hasn't been improved. I think if you look at the balance of play, he's been the worst squad member that we've had, other than Aronson, since we signed him. I think today he did better. If you look at Forest, he had about half an hour where he did quite well. But I think that's massively overplaying it. So if you're saying there the most industrial midfielder is as in he's the one that's going to put in a big tackle, I would agree. Anything else out of that, I fully disagree with. I think his passing's really poor, or it has been for us. It does look okay in the air. So maybe that's something that Big Sam will look to take advantage of. Although the one thing I would say is we saw it today. We saw it from Verba previously. We've got a couple of lads there that have got a great long throw on them. Marsh was keen for Rafinha to take long throws, but nobody's taking advantage of the fact that we've got people that are capable of doing that and putting some bombs in the opposition box from a throw-in.
I think today, I don't think it was more. I think it was more that we didn't get the opportunity that high up the pitch with throw-ins to be able to launch them in. Like you said, I'd like to see it done more against Newcastle. We'll definitely have more opportunities against Newcastle than we.
I think Jay's asking that of you and Mez.
That better be an autocorrect, you prick. Yeah, I think we'll have more opportunities.
I think they've all been on the Randy juice tonight. Tom's saying hopefully it's something penicillin can handle.
I'm going to have to go to all these on the way back. For me,
more submissive. Karl is a strong lover.
Jeez.
I mean, I've never seen it like this before. Without it being spam accounts in the comments, at least. I think everybody's feeling quite positive.
Yeah. Hey, Ollie, just go and ride your better halves, all right, and just get it out of your systems. You'll be all right. I encourage riding each other today. It's fine.
I look like
any more
from Hawaii. So, I don't know if there were quite a few people looking at the numbers that missed the start off. So, I'm manifesting West Ham and Spurs to be on the beach by the time we play them. This is what's going on here. So, fingers crossed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Question from Russ: do we sell both Bamford and Rodrigo next season and get someone who can do both roles like Bamford and Rodrigo can? Do you want to take that first?
I don't think we're going to get a lot of money for Bamford if we do decide to sell him. I think Rod is exactly the same.
I agree.
But I quite like having two players with different outputs towards a game. Now, if we have one player that does all that, then we're we're limiting ourselves to, who plays off that guy. Are we playing with three up top, or are we just playing the same kind of formation, but then we have nothing to change it up with if this guy doesn't work out up front on his own, or so I like the fact that we have two options.
Yeah, but to change the question slightly, who can you get that's going to do both of those jobs? Who can you get that can hold it up, that's going to occupy the centre backs and be clinical in front of goal and have the good touch and put the work in that Harry Kane?
Yeah, well, you're not getting that for less than about 80 or 90 million.
We're not getting that at all.
Yeah, this is the issue.
Anybody that can do both of those in one is going to a Champions League side.
Absolutely, yeah. Though we're not if we're going for someone like that, we have to go for a shirt sleeve sponsor Wish type bloody player, and I think that would be someone like
future.
Yeah, or if we were going to go after anyone, it could have been that Brereton Diaz, perhaps. But again,
So Gyökeres, I think he's probably this season's Ben Brereton Diaz from last season, isn't he? So Brereton Diaz, he burst onto the international scene and he was doing well last season, and he was scoring a good number of goals. Gyökeres looks to be doing the same thing this season. I think. I've not heard much talk of Brereton Diaz. I've got to admit, I don't see much of the Championship. I might see a lot more of it next season, but I watch a lot of Championship football. You see a bit of the coverage, and you see some of the podcasts that you listen to talk about it, touch on it. I've not heard much of Brereton Diaz this season. A lot of people wanted us to go in for him, and I was like, yeah, fair enough, but this is one good season, and we've got a 2 good season Bamford, and you're wanting to replace him with a 1 good season Brereton Diaz. Do we not want somebody that's more proven? The difficulty you've got is, you look at what Brentford have done, and they had Watkins. And Watkins had the capability. They picked him up. I don't know how much for, but at that time, I suspect it was not very much. They picked Tony up for not very much.
Yeah.
So they replaced Watkins with Ivan Toney. And, Newcastle had Toney. They'd let him go. He went to, was it Swindon and then Peterborough? And Brentford picked him up from Peterborough. So, these players, they are there. But nobody could have predicted that Ivan Toney were going to get 20-plus goals this season. So it is a difficult one. And if Ivan Toney leaves Brentford, he's going to leave Brentford for a shitload of money, and he's going to go to a Villa or better. Now, it pains me to say this, but under Emery, Villa are going to be pushing on for Europe next season.
Of course,
so
there's no doubt about it.
And Brentford have had a marvellous season this season, but it wouldn't take many players to be poached from them for them to start dropping away. Whereas I think, the likes of Brighton are a bit different. Caicedo's been linked with £65 million moves. McAllister might go for even more than that. They only need to sell one of them. And they'll continue having. I think they'll come good again next season, especially if they end up keeping hold of De Zerbi. So I think it's when you're looking at the players that are out there, trying to get one player that can do the job of both of those players that we have, that's really difficult. And I don't suspect. Whoa! What are you doing?
Oh, nothing.
You've joined.